Hi guys, yes, Andy and magnificent, I make him blush now, Michael Burton. Now, straight over to Michael, because he's got 4 poems for us. Go for it, mate.
Thanks, Andy. So, yeah, I thought I'd start off with, mentioned earlier that I had a poem published on the Interpreter's House, so I'll start off with that one. So hopefully it'll do it all. Doesn't need too much explanation. So this poem's called On the Third Thursday of Every Month. On the third Thursday of every month, me and every man to have ever fallen in love with you meet to discuss how we are coping with our rejection. For some, it has been years. Many, now happily married, talk only of flashes in their wing mirrors or windows. For others, their visions are a much more regular occurrence. Some of the group claim they only know they are truly alone once all the lights in their houses are out. One man confesses he carries your hair clip in his pocket, squeezing it tight as he walks. Another describes a recurring dream where you and him in full embrace fall from a cliff face to a city of red and amber lights. There is even a man you have never met who attends, dressed each time in the same misfitting raincoat, his fists pressed against his scalp as he speaks of you, standing in the crowd of running through town, up long, narrow streets, only to lose sight of you right at the last. And then there is me and the curve of men beside me in the circle who sit and listen, red-faced, dazed in a frown, as so often you said was the problem. So often you said the worst of all our problems.
Right stuff, that one. What was the inspiration behind that one then? Because I got 2 free minutes of that, Michael, straight away. It's an ambiguous point, but I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I was I wrote a couple of poems about. I was trying that idea of sort of an AA meeting sort of thing about something that's not what it usually is. And yeah, obviously there's a bit of heartbreak there and a bit of how particularly how men deal with the loss of in a relationship and that kind of thing, and maybe they do it not in the right way sometimes, and so everyone's struggling with everyone's I'm sure struggling with has struggled with this kind of situation, and how everyone goes about it really.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. That's right. I love the interpretation of starting off the Thursday thing, and it brought it into a routine and every part and the piece. And that's why I got the meeting side of it straight away. No? Excellent stuff, mate. Okay, well, no more questions on that one. Let's go for number 2, right?
So we also mentioned the Honest Ulsterman. So I'll read the one that was also published in that magazine. So this one, I suppose, on the theme. If the last theme was somewhat on addiction or about that kind of thing, this also kind of touches on that theme. So this one's called How to Hide Your Drinking. How to hide your drinking. Find yourself a cabinet never used by anyone in your house. If this changes, tell them you too had forgotten all about it. Say in response, oh, that's where I put them. Find yourself a bench for your lunch breaks, away from any roadside, close to work, but nowhere near anywhere a colleague might walk past. Never recommend it to anyone as a place to meet. Find yourself a shop, quick in its transactions. Make sure the staff aren't overly welcoming. When they refer to your order as the usual, find yourself another of the same description. Find yourself a brand of strong breath mints, ones which never rattle in the box. Keep some in a pocket of every coat you own. Learn to slip them in by finger and thumb as if wiping your nose clean. Find yourself reasons, and lots of them, not to be wherever you've said you'll be. Find yourself an ailment and do your research on the behavior of those who truly suffer from it. When a friend nicknames you the ghost, laugh, always laugh.
That last line's got a proper kick on it there. It has. Excellent, mate. It's a bit of a shiver, that one again. So, yeah, I can see some degree of similarities between that one and the previous piece, but it's in a very, very different direction. Yeah, I can see like you're touching quite a lot of emotions in that one. And yeah, powerful stuff, mate. Did that come from the same sort of heart, did it, as the first piece? And really, the topic's completely different, I can see.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I think at the time it was sort of during the pandemic, and I think a lot of people were sort of drinking too much, and maybe I think thinking about the things that you should sort of look out for with drinking. Like if you start hiding your drinking from people, it's obviously not a good sign, and a lot of people, it's a start of a very bad relationship with alcohol. So it's sort of, yeah, hopefully kind of gets that idea that, you know, you should be aware of your habits.
Yeah,
So
I definitely felt like that. It's nice to confront your demons sort of piece. I saw that. Yeah, it makes me glad. Otherwise, I don't drink nowadays, so I've had enough sense to avoid that because I'm on too much medication. But yeah, I know what you mean with that. It's definitely was that sort of. Yeah, I said it was like there's different confrontation. That was excellent, mate. Okay, no more. On to piece number 3, mate.
Number 3, yeah. So, okay, yeah. So I've got another one I got published earlier this year. Was in a magazine called Pennine Platform, and I read this also on a show on Chapel FM in Leeds. So maybe this one I could give a bit of an explanation to it. So I did mention earlier that I moved back to the UK from Beijing, and at first I was living in Bacup, my hometown, for a while before I moved to Manchester. So this is definitely in that backdrop. One of the things so it was a difficult transition. I was very lucky to be able to see my family again and that kind of thing, but it's a lot of things to adjust to. But one of the things I did like was reading the local paper, which is a Rosendale Free Press, as it is in Bacup. So this one is called, it's a long title, Guessing the News in the Local Paper on the Walk Home from the Supermarket. Oddly today, I begin with the workplace accident of the week, the occupation of the worker to have fallen and from what height. If a bone had been broken or if stitches were needed, how many people there were to witness the event, how the boss described the pristine condition of the ladder used. Next, I move on to crime, one violent, one petty and needless, a drunken 10-man brawl in the forecourt of a petrol station and a smashing of a stained glass window at a Baptist church. I guess the words used by the constables on the scenes, mindless, reckless, thoughtless, brainless thugs. I chance my arm at the light-hearted item of the middle sections, where a sheep is sure to feature in some capacity. This week's perhaps wandered into the butcher's shop, or perhaps a barber's, if that's not been done before. What's certain is that it will have rammed its way in. Normally now I predict the results of the cricket and football matches, but this morning I know I will not reach these pages. Already I can see myself sprawled asleep an hour from now, the paper half lit in the noontime sun across my chest, the faded siren of next week's news, never loud enough to wake me.
Fantastic, mate. I love that title's tremendous for that one, completely. What a title. Obviously, I'm guessing, obviously, whatever I know of your work, long titles that are not the norm, are they, as much so?
Yeah, sometimes it works out well, doesn't it? As you're trying to think of something snappy and then you just think, oh, wow, what if I just say exactly what it is.
Yeah, I've done poems before now where the title's been longer than the actual poem, actually. So that was tremendous, that one, mate. So excellent stuff. Yeah, I can see that one was a bit more straight about home and bake up itself there. So no, excellent stuff, man. So okay, let's get on to the fourth then. And I always say the big finale.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the future publication in the anthology on the cost of living crisis. So perhaps I can share one of those poems now with you. So I'm lucky enough that Amanda accepted 2 of my poems, which I'm looking forward to seeing in the anthology. One of them is called Crisis, What Crisis? And yeah, as I've just mentioned, you can tell it's about the cost of living crisis. And this is probably more of a, if we're talking about Not Another Poet, this is perhaps a bit more of a Not Another Poet poem. Crisis, what crisis? There's peace on earth like never before, enough jobs for us all on warehouse floors, enough houses, or at least caravans. There's stocks in the shops, or that's the plan. We've still got our schools and our not so crowded prisons. The crime may be up, but the violent type hasn't risen much. We've still got our phones and our oh so loved devices, and we've never known such low avocado prices. So crisis, what crisis? Crisis, what crisis? There's police in our streets and most we can trust. There's so many shows online on Disney Plus. There's never been a time more people had degrees. Soon we'll have more of them than we have trees. We've mobile phones and for singles dating apps. We're never lost, now we've got Google Maps. By all comparisons, this is bliss. Life's never been close to as good as this. Crisis, you ask, what crisis? Crisis, what crisis? There's solar panels and windmills all around. No coal plants or gas works to be found. No teenage smokers anymore. No immediate threat of civil war. So what's with all this dull and dreary news? Don't you know there's always other truths you can choose? You might as well take this hit, because it's never you or your lot who'll decide this. Crisis or not, we say, what crisis? Crisis, what crisis?
Fantastic way to finish off that, Michael, straight away. Yeah, it's ironic when this anthology Amanda's been putting together, which everyone's wondering, it's called Nobody Left Behind, and the book's going to be out in January or next year with a live launch to follow, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. I've not told you about that, but yeah, no, I hadn't heard that one, but I didn't know she'd accepted that one. So, but I've either heard you read that one over at Speakeasy or Dave Scott's night. On Manchester Radio, GMI Radio, one of those 2.
It was both, I think, actually.
Oh, both. That's probably shift the brains there, right? So yeah, no. But I look, the repetition on that is absolutely is measured, and it says a lot. It's so measured to one. Excellent piece, mate. Deserves to get published, that one, mate, straight away. So anyway, so that's it for Spoken Label. Now we're going to do things in a very roundabout way today, because Michael's actually going to be on another podcast, which I'm recording straight after this. So it's not quite bye from Michael here, but that other podcast comes up for this one. So it's just the way I run. So, but anyway, Michael, so mate, cheers for coming on Spoken Label today, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, been a great pleasure.
As Don Callis over at Impact Wrestling says, guys and girls, stay safe and stay over, and we will see you all next time.